Hey guys, I'm your friendly neighbor Web-Warrior Fanatic, and we gotta talk about this new Kingpin scenario. So this is one of the new scenarios in Marvel Champions. It's the capstone villain of the Fear No Evil expansion, the new Daredevil box that just recently came out. And I recently had a poll on my channel here asking you guys, for everyone that's had a chance to play Kingpin, how difficult do you think that he is? And we had 12% of people here vote that he's the most difficult villain in the game, like above Ronan the Accuser, who is commonly known as the current most difficult villain in the game. 7% of people voted that he's like Ronan level, and then 44% of people voted that he's Magneto level. He's like one of the most difficult villains, but not as quite unfair as like Ronan the Accuser. And then 37% of people voted that he's not as strong as the big three. And I was a little bit surprised by this poll here. I thought that most people would be voting, for Magneto level or lower. And I guess it kind of is. It's about 80% of people voted for, these two votes here. But 20% voting this is definitely a lot higher than I was expecting, especially 12% voting for Kingpin to be the most difficult villain in the game. So yeah, let's talk about it a little bit, and I want to go over about this scenario. So this is just being kind of my first impressions on it. I still gotta play the scenario a lot more times. I have like more concrete thoughts on it. But just kind of my first impressions playing Kingpin and how I felt about him. I think it's a incredibly well-designed scenario, if nothing else. Super duper fun, very unique, and just a great villain overall. So let's look at his cards here. So Kingpin, he has two scheme for his standard card. It's the A1 card, and then for the expert card, we have the B1 that I have right here for you guys to see. And he has three scheme on the B1 on the expert card right here. But basically, Kingpin, he has stalwart, and he cannot be dealt damaged or have upgrades attached to him. So basically, the players must garner public support in order to face him directly. And as a forced interrupt, when a Kingpin would attack you, he's schemed instead. So basically, on this form right here, he's always going to be scheming against the player. When you get like an assault where it says, he would attack you, actually just schemed instead. He's always scheming. And in expert mode, this is brutal because, he's got that three scheme that we talked about right here too. So if you garner enough public support, you have to you have this environment right here, and basically as a force response, after any minion is defeated, you place a support counter. Whenever there are enough counters, then you flip this over, and now you have high support. Basically, you want to expose Kingpin for being the true villain and like criminal mastermind that he is. Then when the people are on your side, you can actually flip Kingpin over to this side, the martial artist side, and then fight him, do damage to him, and he'll also attack you back, which I think is a really cool and thematic mechanic. I have this expert card here, so this was um, the expert side where he's scheming, and then the expert side whenever he's actually fine with you. He has 3 scheme and 3 attack, so very very high stats. His stay on this side and 28 per player life, which is pretty bonkers. So yeah, he's a pretty beefy villain there, and yeah, I think it's really fun to defeat minions, and after you defeat enough minions, then you can expose Kingpin to the public and then actually fight him. And he's angry, he's gonna fight you too, and you guys will fight to the death there. So I think it's a really cool way to do the scenario. I have this main scheme stage 1B right here, and basically it's 11 per player threat. If it hits this, then the players lose the game. But there's a hero action here where you can just remove 5 threat from this scheme. But if you're playing expert mode, you can only take off 4 threat. You just remove that threat from the scheme, and then you discard from the encounter until you get a minion, and you just put that minion, or you review that minion, and it becomes in play engaged with you. So it's a great way to kind of mitigate his scheming, because Kingpin, he's scheming on you every single round, and a lot of heroes won't be able to remove that threat, thwarting like, 3, 4, 5 threat every single turn consistently. So you may actually have to just trigger that hero action to remove the threat, and you have that downside of getting that minion into play engaged with you. So obviously, the mod sets are very, very important in this scenario. If you have like very difficult minions in the encounter deck, the scenario is a lot tougher. If you have like weaker, easier minions, then the scenario is a lot easier. I like that it kind of changes with that, but it's also hard to gauge how difficult the scenario itself truly is, because the mod sets have a huge impact on it. The recommended modules for this is going to be the Tombstone and the Tracksuit Mafia modules, which I think are good, like even, like they're not overly difficult, but they're not like super easy either. So I think that's a good balance there, and I think that's a good, kind of standard ground to like look at how difficult this scenario is. What gets crazy about this scenario, and where I think the design becomes really good, is on its stage 2B here. So on stage 2B, you only have 7 per player threat. So that's crazy for a villain that schemes for 3. And basically, when you flip down, he's gonna add that 1 threat to the main scheme. And then if he schemes, he's scheming with a base of potentially 3, so you could just lose the game. But the coolest thing about this is that if you look on the public support on the high side, right, you only whenever you get this main scheme right here, the public support is going to be on your side, and you're going to have this side of the environment flipped up. And it says here, as interrupt, when an enemy would be given a phase on boost card, you can remove a support counter from here instead. This applies to any enemy, including a minion. Like if they have villainous, you can prevent boost from being dealt, which is awesome, guys. You guys know me. You guys know I love flipping down to alter ego. Alter ego is my favorite mechanic, and being able to mitigate a villain scheme is so cool in playing out your turns and allows you to do so many cool things. Flipping down to alter ego, knowing for sure that you won't lose the game. I think that that's so cool. So even though he's scheming for 3, if you trigger this interrupt and you just remove a counter from there, then the people, the public, are helping you stop Kingpin schemes, and you know for a fact that he's only scheming for 3, that he won't add any more threat to the main scheme. So I think that that's super duper cool to be able to flip down safely on that stage. But at the same time, you have to thwart immediately right after you flip, because 7 per player threat, it's not a lot. Yeah, crazy cool mechanic. My first thoughts are, I just love that you flip them over and then you have this to mitigate those boost cards. I think that's a really fun, like, fresh take on a scenario, and just a like great addition to the game. And I think it's quite difficult because the scheme thresholds are so low, and he schemes with such a high scheme stat. Yeah, I just really want to talk about like his scheming here. We have these 2 attachments on him. We got James Wesley and Vanessa Fisk, super iconic and thematic cards here for Kingpin. They're attaching that both give him +1 scheme each. And to get rid of them, the hero you actually have to like allow him to activate on you in order to get rid of it, which is brutal. Yeah, and having this both on him, he gets +2 scheme, so he's like at 5 scheme for expert mode. I mean, even if you get a boost of 0, you add 1 threat, and then you add the 5 scheme, it goes up to 6 out of 7 for true solo, which is pretty insane. So yeah, crazy low threshold for that. But I like that there's ways for you to mitigate that threat. And then another cool thing with Kingpin is that he actually you don't play him with the standard sets. So if you're doing expert mode, you still include expert 1 or like expert 2, or whatever experts that you want to include, but you never include like standard 1, standard 2, or a standard 3 with him. And that's because of that, that I believe the reason why that they designed that way is because of this stage 2B, where it's only 7 per player threat. So if there's any other like advance or something like that, he could easily pop this main scheme. So because of that, there's no advances in the counter deck. He has no activation card that just allows him to scheme on you, because that would make the game so much more difficult, because he's already adding the threat, making it go to like 3, 4, 5. And yeah, guys, Sesame's in the room. I mean, she was outside trying to get in, so I just let her in. She's gonna be chilling with us here. I know we had the room to like kind of not have her interrupt videos, but yeah, she's really want to jump in. So yeah, she's gonna be the star of this video. But yeah. So I just think that's so cool that there's no standard set. But even with that, there's so much involvement with the Nemesis set. And on his setup here for the main scheme stage 1A, each player reviews or set aside Nemesis minion. I think that that's very cool. Uh-oh. Can you guys see that? She's dropping everything. She's dropping all the hero packs. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. So basically, it's cool that he has such a incorporation with the Nemesis set, and your Nemesis minion, I mean, starts off the game in play with you, because Kingpin, he's a master manipulator. He's gonna draw them out and pay them off to like fight you. So I think that's super thematic, and he can grab the rest of the sets on Nemesis set, and like there's ways for him to interact with that, which I think is just super fun. So yeah, my overall thoughts on the scenario is that I think that sorry guys, Sesame's dropping everything. I don't know if you guys can hear that noise, but I think that he is very difficult. I think at this point right now, like my early thoughts, I think that he's around Magneto level for sure, at minimum. At minimum. But I think that I don't think for me that he's quite Ronan level yet. But I can see that if you add in like extremely difficult minion modules, like just like tough minions, I could see him being more difficult than Ronan. But like I think that that's a little bit unfair to judge a scenario by how difficult the modules that you add in, because obviously you can make Ronan more difficult as well by adding in a module that really synergizes with him to ramp him up. So I think for how I'm gonna kind of look at this is just kind of looking at the recommended modules here, right? So we're talking about like Kingpin with his recommended mods, which is with Tombstone and Tracksuit Mafia, comparing that to Ronan with like the Creed Militants. I think Ronan with Creed Militants, I would probably say is more difficult than the Kingpin one. But Kingpin with Tombstone and Tracksuit Mafia, I feel like is very close to Magneto level, if not even more difficult. So I think it's debatable depending on like your hero, your deck, which one is a more difficult villain. I think he's definitely at least Magneto level. And yeah, just huge variety in how you have the modules for that. So yeah, overall, he's just a crazy, crazy cool scenario. He's definitely like easily become one of my favorite scenarios in the game. I don't know if he is like my favorite, but for sure top five. Like I think that there's no way Kingpin's not a top five scenario right now. So yeah, I gotta play him a few more times. I gotta see if there's ways for him to like easily be gamed because then he won't be as fun. Hopefully there's like he's bulletproof in terms of like there's no way to like abuse a mechanic on him and like just easily defeat him or something like that. Because stuff like that I'm not a big fan of. If you're able to do that on a villain, I want to try to do it, but if I'm able to, I don't want to be able to. So yeah, really excited to see what the community thinks about Kingpin here as more people have more of a chance to play him. But so far, I mean, I think that yeah, he's really cool, and I think that a lot of people would agree that he's a fair villain. Like Magneto is known to be difficult, but also very fair. So I think Kingpin kind of has that fair mechanic. Like he doesn't feel overly oppressive like Ronan, because there is ways to maneuver around a scenario. It's just not a lot of breathing room on that. So yeah, overall, I think that he is an awesome scenario, guys. Let me know down in the comments what's your first thoughts about Kingpin. Do you guys agree with what I said here? And let me know down in the comments if you think that he is contending to be one of the most difficult villains in the game. I think that he's definitely making a good case in my experience right now on my playthroughs, but I'm not quite sure he's gonna be Ronin level. But it's a pleasant surprise because I was not sure, I was not confident at all actually that Fantasy Flight Games would ever print a villain with base recommended modules that would be ever as difficult as Magneto or more difficult than Magneto. And they proved me wrong here. So I'm super excited to hear about that. Like you guys have probably seen, I've always been saying this. I really want more difficult villains, especially that the heroes, I feel, especially with this wave, are getting stronger. We need more difficult villains in the game again. Like, really, there hasn't been really anything close to Magneto since Magneto and Venom Goblin and Ronan. I mean, those guys, we haven't seen anything close to that since. But Kingpin is definitely the closest to them. I think he's easily top four, if not top three, potentially even like top two or top one. It'll take more plays, and I don't think he's gonna be top two or top one, but I think that with certain modules you can definitely make him that way. So yeah, I'm a big fan of villains that have a high base difficulty because I don't always want to like plan out, what modules I'm playing a villain with. And I don't always want to change stuff up. Sometimes I just want like a quick game. I just want to like try out like this deck against this villain, and I just want something that represents how the villain would play, but not like overly ramping up myself. So yeah, I think having Kingpin already be quite difficult with just his recommended modules with the Tracksuit Mafia and Tombstone. I think that's a great way to design a scenario here. And yeah, huge fan of Kingpin, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think about him. And yeah, just a quick video here. I'll see you guys all in the next one. And I'll probably be posting, I have already recorded my Daredevil versus Kingpin of the expert campaign that we I'm not gonna spoil if I finished it or not, but it was a crazy game. I still gotta run the video, so it's gonna be a locker one. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy this. My quick thoughts here on Kingpin initially, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.